Career Tip Tuesday. It has been a while since Makita and I have been live with you all. But look, we've been enjoying our summer just like everybody else has been. But we wanted to jump on
Working.
here for Career Tip Tuesday, and Makita and I had talked about this before we went live. And said, "What do we want to talk about today?" And Makita said, "You know what? Let's just talk about just inspiring everyone to keep going and keep pushing." And Makita,
Mhm.
tell them what you said to me right before we went live.
So the summer has been a summer of all summers. It is, it feels different than any summer. And I'm not sure if it is what's going on in legislation, the things that's going on in corporate America. It feels like we're hitting some or coming up against some obstacles um, that we've never experienced before. Even earlier this summer, I said to myself, I feel like I'm being qualified for something I don't know yet because this is something this is something different. But um, we have been working, we have been going through things, and it's just important. We wanted to pause and say it's important to keep going. What you're going through, what we're going through, the things that we're experiencing is experience nonetheless. Once we get out of it, when there's light at the end of the tunnel, we can say we did that, right? And we can say that nevertheless, we accomplished something, we learned something, and we know and we can go forward with our head held high and with confidence. So I just want to pause and try to inspire everybody. So that's not exactly what I said before we got on live, but that's what I wanted to share.
So I guess what we're going to do, I guess, is really give everybody some work week inspirations, what it sounds like. But before we do break out, we got a couple of talking points that I think we're just going to get and do just to kind of make sure we're giving anybody just some inspiration and some motivation for the week. We want to kind of give some shout outs to the people who are watching. So we see Reagan and we see Danielle, Athena, and McKildred. There's Crystal, Christina, and Shelly. We're glad to see you all here. Even got a couple of males in the house, so glad you're watching too.
Mm.
Zion, so thank you for watching today. So I know that I guess what we're doing is work week inspiration. And with that being said, I think one of the things I think is important, and this is a book that I read, and anytime I get to a place where I'm very frustrated with work or challenging people, or if personalities, or maybe they did something they didn't set right with me in the workplace, this book always takes me back to remind me why I do what I do in the workplace, why I'm really there, what I'm there for. And it's called The 10 Commandments of Working in a Hostile Environment, and it's a book by TD Jakes. Some of you probably are familiar with the book, but it's been around for, oh my gosh, probably over a decade or not longer. But it's a great book to always go back to, just to remind yourself of why you are where you are. And it kind of just brings you back in when some of the things that he talks about. You like, he makes you take the ego out of it and say, hey, you're there by God's design. You're there to do a job. You're there to gain skills that you need to move to the next level. You're there to be stretched. You're here to learn what you need to learn to prepare you for what's next. It just brings you back into focusing on why you're there versus getting so caught up in the nuances of everything that happens within the workplace. So recommend that book. If you don't have it, please Amazon, get it for paperback, $4, I think, 4.99. It's a great book to just go back and refer to. And one of the things that I always go back to, and I like to remind people of this, is that you don't need validation.
That's right.
Okay. You
That's
don't need
right.
validation from your boss. You don't need validation from your coworkers or your peers. You don't need validation from anyone to tell you that you're doing an amazing job, or to say that you need to work on this. You don't need validation for any of those things. So just remind yourself, for those of you who seek approval or are looking for pats in the back or acknowledgement for what you do. Yeah, we want those things because it's kind of like human nature, but do you need it? You know,
Mhm.
if you know
Mhm.
who you are and you know what you bring to the table, you don't need others to validate what you already know about what you bring to the table yourself. Anything you want to share about that, Makita?
No, absolutely agree with you 100%. You guys know who you are. We know, you know your skill set, you know what you're capable
Mm-hmm.
of, you know you're doing a
Mm-hmm.
good job, right? So then tell yourself that, talk to yourself positively and just know that, again, if you're doing God's work and you are where you're supposed to be, you don't need any validation from anybody.
Yeah, and I think, and let's go to the next one, Makita, which is that your job has a dual purpose,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So, we're here to inspire you. For those of you who are like, you know what, I'm about to choke somebody out, or I'm really having a bad week, or maybe you've had an amazing week, but just keep in mind that your job has a dual purpose. And McKee and I may look at this a little bit differently, I think. But for me, when I think about your job having a dual purpose, for me, what that means is one, you're here to utilize your gifts and talents in the role that you're in, but you're also there to gain skill sets that you need that's going to prepare you for the next level. So if you're thinking about your role in that perspective, right, then that can to help to keep you
Hmm.
focused on what's next for yourself, and not get caught up into the nuances of everything, because we all are human creatures with emotions, and so again we may get caught up in those details, but we need to be reminded sometime. What do you think, Makita?
No, I agree. It's easy to forget, or it's easy. Yes, it's easy to forget that your job has a dual purpose. That's absolutely right. Um, but you said it. You got to remember there's there's something coming next. So, if you've done the work and you know where you want your career to go, you know exactly what that could be, what that should be, and what you
Hmm.
need to make sure you are qualified for that role. So do it.
Absolutely.
So get everything that you need where you are, as hard as it is, or as easy as it could be. Make sure you have it, and then go for it.
So Veronica says, "Hello, this is right on time for me. Not being valued at work is really demoralizing, but I'm here for a reason and a season." Yes, you are, Veronica. Yes,
Okay.
you are. And if you are just now tuning in, go back and remember, get that book from TD Jakes called 10 Commandments of Working in a Hostile Environment. Your environment may not be hostile, but the whole point of the book is to help you to understand why you are right, what role your job or your career plays in your life,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
Mm-hmm.
it plays a part. It's not the all of it. It plays a part, and that book helps you to understand what that part, how that part really, what it means, and keeping it in perspective. So, thank you, Veronica, for sharing that. We love that. I
Thank
know,
you.
Makita, we only have a few minutes left before Makita has to jump off because she's got things to do. But I want to share another one with you as well. Is that when we think about our role, I think sometimes we don't think about this, which is protecting our reputation, our peace, and our
Mm-hmm.
relationships,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now I know you can talk about this one, Makita. You want to elaborate on this before you go? Have to go?
Gosh, well, man, I'm a huge proponent of protecting your peace. Protect you first, right? Because if you're not protecting you, if you're not protecting your peace, if you're not protecting, I would even say your well-being, your mental well-being, your emotional well-being, as well, then you can't show up anywhere. And we know that our job is only a little bit of a sliver of um, what we're on this earth to do. So
Hmm.
protecting yourself is an absolute must. I am actually doing that right now, and uh, and kind of and working as well. But that's a huge one. Protecting your reputation. Um, I believe that you should always do this, even if it means pushing back, even if it means speaking up, going against what is incorrect, but doing it in a very professional way. Standing up for what's right will definitely protect your reputation, protect your integrity. And, people have long memories. They will remember. that, and your reputation will be
Mm-hmm.
sure to precede you in that vein. And so making sure that you are integral in everything that you do. Okay, so quickly we have Zion. For someone who is entering the field, what advice do you have for women who are feeling unqualified for roles, and what keeps you motivated to overcome obstacles? Ah, that is a great, great, great question. So feeling unqualified, my question is, why do you feel unqualified? I'm sure you are qualified. You have the skill set, you have the talents, and even if you have to learn something, you have the capacity and the ability to learn. And so you are qualified. You have to tell yourself that, and you have to show up as qualified. You have to show up as confident. I don't believe that, for the most part, Black women and unqualified go in the same sentence. I don't believe that.
Exactly. Exactly.
I don't believe that at all.
Exactly. Yeah,
So,
and yeah, I love. Go ahead, Makita, because I wanted to also
uh,
elaborate on what you're saying too.
so quickly, what keeps you motivated to overcome obstacles? I know that my job is bigger than me.
Mm-hmm.
That is it. It is about how I'm showing up and helping people, how I'm showing up and helping the company, how I'm showing up and helping my future. Again, because I know that there's eventually going to be a next and a next after that and a next after that. Right. And so back to what Sherry said, making sure that you understand that you need to get the tools, the resources, the experience that you need for next. So that's what keeps me motivated to overcome obstacles. Now, I may do a little complaining on obstacles, but I enjoy it because it helps me be creative. I don't take
Mm-hmm.
no as a no, I'm not going to do it. No, you can't do it. No to me means I'm not doing it with you because it's getting done. Because again, I know it's bigger than me. But in a
I love
sense,
that.
I like
I love
obstacles.
that, Makita. I love that you said that, because I think we do, if we just try to keep that approach, and then like she said, it doesn't mean you're not going to complain and you're not going to have somebody you can vent to about things, because we're going to have that, but we do have to bring it really back in and really understand the perspective of what role our job and our careers play in our life, and it's just a fraction of that, and we need to
Mhm.
keep that in perspective. So I thank you for that, and Zion, I hope that gave you some clarity too. And remember, go, I don't know if you were on early when we talked about validation. Here's the thing, and I say this all the time. When you don't need validation, right? Because here's the thing: when you interview for the role, you were the one that was selected out of all the candidates who interviewed for the role, which means that's all the validation that you need, that you were good enough for that job because they selected you to do it.
That's
So,
right.
even if you weren't unqualified, or when you felt like you weren't unqualified for the job, but they chose you anyway, that means you got the goods, because the goods are in here. You just need the opportunity to be able to show what you have on the
Mhm.
inside. So
Yes.
sometimes we have to believe in the innate gifts that are given to us, and when we desire to want more and be more, it's because it's already in us. We're just looking, we're searching for the opportunity to allow for all of that gifts and talents to come out. So you have
That's
to
right.
look at it from that perspective as well.
Yeah. I
All
really
right.
like I really like what Krista says. She says qualified does not always mean knowing everything. It also means willing to learn and grow. And
Absolutely.
and to what Sherry said, and to what Sherry said related to you were qualified when they gave you the role.
Mhm.
They also hire people, and put people in roles because you have potential. You have potential to grow, and you have potential to get to
Mhm.
the level that they would love to see you at. So think about it in that way as well. So Krista, thank you for that comment.
I love that. Now, Kendra says, "Yes, my last day at the job, I needed a break and was not valued. I was second guessing myself, but I kept getting confirmations daily." Yes,
Mhm.
and I'm glad, because again, just because they don't see it doesn't mean it's not there within you, right? So I love that. That's why we don't need that validation, because we depend on that, then we forget about having the confidence and the abilities that has been naturally been given to us.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's great that you got to the point to where you eliminate the self doubt and you were getting confirmations that you have the goods or have what it takes to be successful in the role.
Yeah, and I just want to add that, we may be dealing with people, especially managers, whom are toxic, to say the least. But
Hmm.
and we get a lot of uh, pushback and abrasive abrasiveness. I don't know if that's the right word from them. But remember, um, to Sherry's point, you always have to show up as yourself, do your best, because sometimes it's not for them to see. Sometimes the
Hmm.
assignment is not for them to see, it's for somebody else,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so, and so sometimes, again, like looking for that validation in anybody, um, especially sometimes managers, when you have hard managers, you shouldn't be doing that, because sometimes it's not about them sometimes, and it's not for them to see, it's for somebody else to see your potential in what you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, and it's so true. And you also have to make sure you are working with your eyes open. And what I mean by that is you need to be paying attention to the people that you work with, paying attention to how they move, how the communication is being done. Because if you're not paying attention to those things, if you're being excluded from something you should be included in, you have to be paying attention to those things to make sure. Because just because things start out great and they're healthy doesn't mean that it can't shift.
That's right.
And you have to be paying attention to when those things shift, and ask yourself, is this environment still serving me, or is it time for me to go and grow somewhere else? So you definitely have to be paying attention to those things, and that goes to when we're thinking about and I'm going to put this up on the screen because Makita talked about it. Don't buy into who they think you are.
Mhm.
Don't buy into that. You control how people perceive you. um, if they're showing up with their own assumptions and biases, what is it based on? Their experiences, whatever that is. That's not on you. That's on them. But
Mhm.
you keep a hold. You don't buy into what they're trying to say, who they say you are. That goes back to you don't need that validation because their
Mhm.
validation can be skewed. What they hold valuable may not be that to you.
Mhm.
So you
Yeah.
have to pay attention to that.
Well, unfortunately, I have to go. I know Sherry's going to stay on, but thank you all for viewing and your questions and your comments. Just, keep your eyes on the prize. Make sure you're showing up as yourself, and always be true to yourself. So that's what I'll leave you all with.
All right. See you later,
Right.
Makita. All right, I got a couple more I want to share before time for me to drop off in a couple of minutes as well. Next one I want to share with you all who are still watching is utilize more of your talents and your capabilities. What that means is that your job may not give you an opportunity for you to be able to do everything that you can do within your talents and gifts. So you may need to find other ways to do that. Or if you're looking for a role that you want to be able to utilize more of those, look for projects that you can work on in addition to your role. Look at other things that you can show other talents and skills and gifts that you have if you're not able to utilize those in your current role. So just wanted to be able to share some of these words of encouragement, and let you know that you are enough. You don't need validation. You are fully equipped to do everything you need to do to propel not only yourself but your career forward, and know that your job has a dual purpose. All right, so we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for today, but I want to leave you with this two things, right? The life God gave you is larger than the life you've been living, and God gives us all specific talents and skills, and it's our job to discover what those are and use those to work in our purpose. And the last thing is this, okay? Make choices and decisions that's going to allow your life to catch up with who you really are on the inside. All right. So I want to leave you with those two inspirational quotes. I hope you all have an amazing rest of your work week. I promise McKee and I will not stay away so long, but it is the summertime. We try to be out here in these summer streets. Okay. But we'll see you all in a couple of weeks. Have an amazing work week, everyone. Bye.